Lodge is directly south, about 20, actually more about 35, 40 minutes that way.
Okay.
So probably 20, 25 miles.
Okay.
And then the White Sage Fire is due north and a little bit to the west. In some areas, if you're lucky, you'll have a fire camp that's like within cellular service. This one, not so much. So we have a lot of Starlinks going on, a lot of very creative ways of communicating with the world.
So this is what I was saying about it's one way, so we'll come out here and park. So you just be aware of the way the traffic pattern moves as you walk through.
This is ground support. A lot of people, when you check in, they'll check out your vehicle, make sure it's safe to drive on the incident, and then you can get your vehicle weed washed to make sure that you're not bringing any invasive species from outside of the region into our beautiful meadow area. And they'll wash it off and bring the invasives to the dump so we don't pollute the local area, because we like to leave the area prettier than when we came, is the motto. We're lucky here because we're in a Forest Service area, so we're kind of letting folks camp wherever they want. So if you look around, you'll just see people happy camping in the trees, which is not always the case. If you look over at the White Sage, they're kind of cramped into the city of Fredonia, and all of the tents are kind of on top of each other because we don't have an agreement with the city to spread out more than we already have. So people are pretty happy that they don't have to hear each other snoring.
Yeah. Well, and people, because we're running shifts, so you'll see up here we have day sleeper trailers, and then some people will be sleeping in tents still in the day while other people sleep at night. So we try to kind of keep those things together so we're not disturbing each other, and they can at least get some good rest in between shifts.
I saw some license plates from California and Texas. Those
Sure.
are just people that came from there to help out, or
they're rentals?
Yeah, they could be rental
okay.
vehicles. I have a Texas plate on mine right now, so but it's because I flew in and got a rental.
okay.
Yeah, you see a lot
These
of
are our
rental
showers.
vehicles.
If you ever wondered what that's like in camp,
It's a very
pretty fun.
luxurious experience.
It actually,
Showering
yeah.
in a trailer.
Those
you
are
know.
pretty nice though in terms of fire camp, but then I've seen worse.
You just have to get used to like showering at outside air temperature, which is at fire camp usually like 50 degrees.
Yeah.
So you get out of this like the nice like 90-degree shower, and then you're like toweling off in 50 degrees.
Yeah.
Makes it snappy though. Makes it real snappy.
No long showers at camp then.
Yeah.
How many people do you think are staying here?
Gosh, everyone. I don't think we have any spikes.
Yeah, we don't have any spike camps yet.
So all of the resources are here.
Okay. Do you happen to know how many that is as of today?
I can check my notes. I think I
Jen
heard
has
today it was
packets for you.
795. Yeah. 795 is I think the last number I heard, but I can double check.
And how would you describe sort of all of the different like entities that people represent?
And as we're often reminded in incident management, that the operations on the field change our day. So we've done the best to make the most of your time here.
Do not apologize, please. This is fine.
Great. So welcome. This is Manny Cordova. He's our lead public information officer. Micah Grondin is from the liaison shop. Aaron Holbert also with the liaison shop. Jen is also with the public information shop.
What we'll do is, as we walk along, I'll kind of just talk about the different facilities here. But what it is when we come to a camp, we need all the support functions for that, to include finance, logistics, and all those things. So as you see, each individual yurt is kind of, or trailer is marked. But what we'll do to kind of get a better view perspective is we're going to come between these two. We're going to walk through there so that way we can get a kind of better field of view of the whole setup. Probably one of the most important ones is finance, right? Everybody wants to know whose piece of the pie is going to belong to. So with finance, we have all the functions as well. We have comps and claims, we have time recorders, and so that way each individual agency that has a stake in this is kind of taken care of, and you know their due is given to them. But what we'll do is we'll kind of come into the finance, and if you're comfortable, we'll walk you up. If you guys want to clear that, it's up to you. But I would just want to bring her into this finance. Yep. Just give them a heads up. Yep, this sir. So
we're gonna, ma'am? Well, so we're doing a quick tour with the governor. So ma'am, this is our comps and claims. So all the documentation, all the daily basis, everyone on the fire is submitting their documentation for hours worked, equipment used, all that. And then what it happens here is they track it daily, and then on a daily basis we report out the cost of the incident, to date. And so we go through this on every incident and every operational period. It's handled that way. And if there's anything that does come up, an accident, an injury, or anything like that, this section or this function will handle all that, and they'll send a representative for the incident, and that way they can handle any billing that may be associated with that. There's an exit on the backside, so we'll come out of this other step, so we're not having to go back and forth.
Somebody that's doing origami.
Yes, yes. No. Got it? Just watch your step, ma'am. And then we'll just come back this way. Thank you. And so each individual trailer has a group of 6 to 7 people working and doing their specific functions. But with that, what we'll do is we'll kind of keep walking the camp, and then really, any questions so far from anybody? Pretty straightforward? Okay. So we'll just keep our way down to the path down the way, and then what we'd like to show you is where the mess hall is at, and kind of where we get a little bit of a break from the daily routine. Anything, sir, from you? Any questions or anything?
How big's your team?
So right now, I think we're at 664.
Wow.
Yeah, but your team, Andy.
Oh. We
brought
90
folks.
Yeah, and
Anytime we bring in an incident, a command team like Andy's, you're bringing in a lot of resources.
Oh, yeah.
That's needed to manage all that stuff.
Yeah. So do you have like all of this equipment staged somewhere so you can deploy it quickly?
we're going to come through here. So a lot of this, some of this is pre-positioned throughout the country, and part of it is our contracts. Just watch your step behind you. Part of our individual contractors that have standing contracts with the, with the government. And so what happens is, as an incident in a specific region starts to develop, what they'll do is they'll send out requests for contractors that they can support the incident at that time.
And so this isn't necessarily all owned, like somebody, like a contractor would bring it out and set it up?
We have both. We have both federal, state, and local assets that are part of the cooperative agreements. And then if we are unable to fill some of those needs, then the contracting world starts kind of getting pulled into the picture. But yes, and some of these assets, as you can see, are pretty fancy. Just watch your step, man. Are pretty fancy. So a lot of the contractors take on that burden of the maintenance, the liabilities, and so the benefit to us is that we get to use the state-of-the-art equipment to do our job. So so as you can see, here's the walkway, but as you can see around the tent, so it's pretty rough conditions, as you can imagine. So I mean, we're out here sleeping and then working our 12 to 16-hour shifts depending on the job or the function you have. But we'll kind of stop right here and kind of talk about. So with that, one of the big functions is really the logistics has a heavy lift, right? They have to feed all of us, restrooms and showers, and so here's the mess hall. And so what they do is they bring out a national caterer that preps the meals for everybody, and the meals are designed to feed the firefighters and take that caloric intake into account, and then be able to make sure that they can go out there, do the work, and have the energy to do the work. For all of us that are in the support functions, one of the things we try and do is make sure we don't eat too much and put on an extra 10 pounds before you go home. So it's critical, but yeah, the support that is part of this process is enormous. And then farther down the way is where we have the showers. But just want to kind of give you a little visual. And then within this, as we have just these mess halls that, depending on the shift, if you're day shift or night shift, you are able to come in, get a good meal, and go from there. But with that, any questions for me already?
How many fire or calories are these firefighters eating every day?
You know, I wish I knew the answer, but what I can tell you is the calories are designed to sustain the workload that they have. And so they're out on the fire line anywhere, like I said, between 12 to 16 hours working and really burning through, you know, thousands of calories. So yeah, that's the critical piece. And there is a national standard that the caterer and, you know, all those folks and all the support functions that are here have to meet. And so, and we do have personnel that are assigned to the incident that are part of the team that really manage that and ensure that that's happening. So if it's not being met, then an opportunity is given to correct it and then move forward from there. But yeah, it's like, especially with the meals and the nutrition, very, very important key part of that, and making sure that our firefighters on the fire line are taken care of.
Do you have an estimation of how many tents and how many trailers are set up?
Do you mean tents out here, like out here tents, or?
Those tents and
So
then also the-
those are the individual firefighters tents. So you know, like I mentioned before, we have a little bit over 660 folks assigned. So you can only imagine we're kind of scattered throughout the area. So wherever we can find a safe place to sleep at night is important. But as far as the other equipment, yeah, there's, you know, whatever the need is. So if we have, depending on the demand on finance, sometimes finance has a higher demand of personnel to help support the incident, or it can be public information, logistics. So really it's based on the demand that each individual section is getting placed on them. Perfect. All right, we'll just go ahead and continue.
Can we say hi to them real quick?
Yeah, sure. You'll come through, no problem. Get in. So these folks are what make the dream come true for the rest of us. So they work long hours, long shifts, and really the preparation of the meals start the day before. So for example, for breakfast, they start working that the night before, and lunch, and so on and so on. And depending on how well we're going to be fed, it can be 2 days. So they travel with smokers, grills, everything that is needed to feed all these folks. And so we'll just watch a step here, but as they come through, and I can kind of show you this side, just kind of watch a step here, but I'll show you over here. So what it is all of this is mobile. And here is we call it the chow line, but so what happens is folks come up through the food line, grab their food, and then come in through the tent and just grab all the condiments that they may need, and then grab a seat. So really, I think for most of us, especially those that have experience on the fire line, this is one of the important part of the days is where you can relax, unwind, get fed, and get ready for your next day's shift. So. All right, well, we're gonna head back out and then go back towards the ICP. Just kind of watch your step here. It's we've had a rain a couple of days, so.
Heavy rain?
Here at ICP, but not so much on the fire. Gotcha. We had a little bit on the fire as well.
I'm Aaron.
Nice to meet you. Yes, yeah.
Uber driver today.
All right, we'll head back this way. Yeah, you know, and when these incidents take place in just these remote areas, we just have to make do with what we have, right? So really, just the support, like as you can see, is tremendous.
It's so impressive. Like,
It is.
You don't think about all this when you think about everything that goes into managing these incidents. So
Yes, and one of the big pieces with this is, right now this is what we can see, but really the heavy lift and the heavy workload is for all those folks on the fire line.
Yeah.
And so this is all designed, like I said before, to support them, make sure they're rested and can go out there and do their job safely. And with all those functions, we have, you know, HR department that's here, we have safety department, and every morning we'll actually brief and, you know, talk about the operational plan for that day. And you know, safety of firefighters and the public is always number one for us. So we're always concerned in making sure that we're addressing any safety concerns or needs, or making adjustments as necessary to make sure that the work they're doing out there is safe.
are areas like this do you have to do any clearing here, or was this
Nope.
area like, are they pre-cleared in anticipation like that you might need a
No, so a lot of these areas are, for example, camping sites or sites like that. So for us, and we'll stop right here so we can kind of talk a little bit, but for us, it really in logistics, they go out and scout, like a day before, and they're out here looking for those facilities that can accommodate. And so they look for areas, whether it be, schools, sites like this, or even campgrounds or different locations. But really, the heavy lift is on the logistics on the front end. Once they establish and designate that facility, they communicate that through the incident commander, and then they start working on those land use agreements. And once we're in place, then it's off to the races from there. But yeah, there's a lot of scouting that's done on their part. Can we get the equipment? How safely can we get it here? These roads, can they support these semis, these trailers that are going to be coming in here? And if it won't work, then they'll scout out different ones. So here we got a few minutes before we go, but as you can see, and I was mentioning before, the different designations of the trailers, and as you can imagine, as when you guys flew in, right, air ops, that is one of the biggest and most dangerous functions we have, and we have someone full-time up there in the air coordinating all those events on the air, likewise on the ground. So we do have specialists that will manage that, and then that's where that communication piece between pilots is just completely different language for me, but it happens, and really it's to keep all of us safe is what the ultimate goal is. But any questions, anybody? Just don't want to continue talking. Chief, anything from you? Okay.
Just real quick, maybe have 10 minutes until our meeting room frees up from our morning briefing this morning.
Okay.
We'll be free to go in there.
All right, so if anybody needs a restroom break, take it now. Back here, no. So what we'll do is we'll continue. What we'd like to do is give you that time to get ready for the meeting if you need. And then if you want, we can take her to that area where she can freshen up, and then we'll get ready, if that's
Governor, let's get your reaction to what you just saw flying over the North Rim and the damage.
Well, you were there and you saw too. I know it's so devastating as a lifelong Arizonan. It just as a reminder of the shared stewardship we have of this land and this iconic treasure of the Grand Canyon. So we're going to do everything we can to help support managing this fire and then get to rebuilding.
Can you explain what was explained to you over the headset and what you were hearing as you were going over the North Rim?
Director Torres was just pointing out different the areas of forest and he talked about the original lodge that was built. It burned down three years after it was built, and then they rebuilt it 5 years later. So, but yeah, just kind of pointing out landmarks and things.
Have you been to the North Rim before? Tell us about your own experience up here.
So actually, this is my first time at the North Rim, and I'm really sad that I won't have the chance to feel those memories at the Grand Canyon Lodge like so many people across the world have.
What was your reaction?
You have to call it one more question, and then she's got to pop in, and then we can do one after.
What was your reaction flying over, seeing some of the plumes of smoke?
Yeah, I mean, it just gives you a perspective of how devastating this fire has been and has the potential to be, and again, just the priority is managing it, and so the state's ready to provide the support we need to get that done.
Yeah, so I am. Yeah, it's hard to
So you guys haven't had any injuries so far, right?
Not that I have heard.
Any of the trailers, or is that just for meetings and business items?
There's a Matt McGrath, he's a district ranger on the Flagstaff Ranger District. He's an agency.
I guess
they have a lot of practice.
I guess it's like a
because you have all the same, functional areas that need to be.
All right, who wants to go first?
will. Governor, can you tell us a little bit about, I mean, to the extent you can, the briefing you just heard? What are your takeaways on the progress fighting this fire?
Yeah, I mean, I think there has been a lot of progress made in terms of the confidence that we'll get this fire under control and contained and minimize the extent of the rest of the damage that can be done. And I think what another big takeaway is just the amount of cooperation that goes into incidents like this, not just now fighting the fire on the ground, but work that's happened up until now, the mitigation lines that helped create the containment we have now, and learning how we need to do that in the future to prevent other, or to contain other incidents that will happen in the future, because we know there will be other fires in the future. And I was encouraged to hear that this is a priority for the federal government to get that kind of mitigation done as quickly as possible. A lot of times we let bureaucracy get in the way of getting resources deployed as quickly as possible, and so that mitigation for future incidents is going to be really important, and cooperation on that between state and federal, because this is federal jurisdiction, but the fire doesn't know that boundary, and we all have to work together.
You have said that you'll meet with leadership of the U.S. Forest Service and the U.S. Department of Interior. What after this briefing, what questions do you have now going into that meeting?
I think, I called last week for an investigation. Obviously, all efforts right now are in getting this fire under control. Folks are already looking at recovery. Those things are important. We have to learn from what might have happened that went wrong, that destroy these structures, and how we can do better in the future.
Do you maintain that more aggressive suppression efforts should have been used from the outset as opposed to a confine and contain strategy?
I'm not an expert, and I'm not second guessing anyone's choices. I think we have to make sure that regardless of this being federal land or not, we have a shared stewardship, and that we are doing everything we can to protect these resources and how we respond to crises like this.
But do you think there was a misstep then in the initial response?
I am not second guessing. I think we need to look at, after we get this fire managed, what went into the decision making, and if there were missteps, how we learn from that.
Did that even come up in the briefing, or is it right now just so focused on getting this fire managed?
We are focused on getting the fire managed, making sure that these folks on the ground who are living in the tents you see around have the support they need so they can get back to their families and then go from there.
Well, I'm sorry, but did you bring it up in your briefing, or is that not the focus quite yet?
I think the investigation is for down the road. I think also because this is the Grand Canyon, everyone is concerned about recovery. How do we get the North Rim reopened as quickly as possible? There's tons of outreach happening right now to national parks, to our office, about how can we help. And so that's obviously a focus too. There's going to be some business disruption. We want to make sure that those folks are back in business as quickly as possible. And so we talked a little bit about that too.
Is this your first time at a fire camp?
One like this, yes. I've been to other incident commands, but this is the first one I've seen like this.
What'd you think of it?
You don't think about all the logistics that go into managing an incident like that, and this is a lot. And the fact that it could be deployed so quickly tells you that we have, experienced folks on the ground making sure this happens, and people are getting fed, and they have a place to sleep and rest for a minute to go back out.
Can you talk about anything that, as the more aggressive suppression efforts were underway, what communications you've had with the National Park Service and what they've indicated to you?
We haven't had any specific, we've been in a briefing, the daily briefing every day. We're getting the same information that other folks are. And so we've been in the same amount of communication we would be in any type of incident like this. We're getting, I think, where everyone talked about the level of communication, how good it's been, and how important that's been to helping in this situation.
And when you say what other folks are getting, can you just clarify what
So there's briefings every day that elected officials and other Director Torres, Director Levine are all involved in.
What is this might seem like a silly question, but what is the value of being here and seeing it for yourself?
I think that, being able to, I'm heading to DC and I'm going to meet with folks at Interior and the Forest Service leadership and actually the Secretary of the Interior. So hearing from folks on the ground, how we can better continue to work together to cooperate in these kind of incidents. We know that we're going to continue to experience wildfires. We have to work together to manage them. That's helpful. Seeing the complexity that goes into managing an incident like this is helpful. Certainly, I feel good about going back to Arizonans and saying, look, everyone's concerned about making sure that we're protecting as much as possible and that we can rebuild because the Grand Canyon is so important to our state.
Yeah. So you think the lodge should be rebuilt?
Absolutely.
Do you think there's any room for the state to help support that, or would you expect the federal government to do it since the park?
I think that we're going to be having those conversations. We've certainly gotten a lot of outreach about how people can help, and so I think we're also looking at how the state can support the small businesses that have been disrupted, whether it's through regulatory relief, things like that. And so we'll continue looking at that as well.
Can you talk about the scope of the economic impact?
I don't know that we know it yet. Obviously, this is a huge draw for tourism. The South Rim gets more visitors, but this is really important. And the businesses that are here, the concessionaires are contractors, so that's their business, their livelihood. And so I don't think we have the overall numbers yet of that impact.
Anything else, you guys?
I actually missed initially before when you were talking about just what was going through your mind as you were flying over, seeing some of what had broken with the lodge, or what had burned down with the lodge. Can you talk about that a little bit more, or just what were your initial thoughts as you kind of flew over?
Yeah, I think just going back to when we first got the news that the lodge had burned, and how many people, not just in Arizona and not just across America, but around the world, have memories from time they spent with their family there or whoever, and so we have a shared responsibility of stewardship of these resources, whether it's federal jurisdiction or not. And so just seeing it overhead just really kind of underscored that, and our responsibility to make sure that this is here for generations to enjoy in the future.
What was going through your mind specifically as we were flying over the lodge, and what was left of it?
What I just said. I had nothing else to add.
Your meetings with the Secretary of the Interior, are those this upcoming week? They are scheduled in soon? Okay.
Yep.
Yes, we have to call it wraps. I can follow up on the exact dates, but I believe U.S. Forest is Tuesday and Interior Wednesday.
Okay.
That's in DC.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.